Thank you for staying with us. It's time now to take a look at stories making headlines on the front page of Nigerian newspapers, and I begin with the salient Times. The major story here: NLC TUC suspend planned strike. Nigeria Labour Congress, Trade Union Congress suspend planned strike. Federal government to pay workers 35,000 naira. Sign a 15-point agreement with federal government. And on the front page there, you see the president, Bola Tinubu, with the president of the NLC, Joe Ajero, as well as TUC president Festus Osifo, and NUPENG president, that's Williams Akporocha, at the Presidential Villa Abuja on Wednesday. That's August 2023. That's an old picture, but it goes to depict that federal government and organized labor have reached an agreement, so to speak, for the suspended strike. The strike was suspended for 30 days. And still looking at the front page of the Salient Times on the top corner here, CSU, that's Chicago State University, releases Tinubu's academic records, authenticates certificate. Then EFCC secures arrest warrant for Alison Madueke as extradition proceedings begin. Nigerians almost destroyed my career for slapping policeman. Sheon Kuti is speaking. And then Better Edu begins door-to-door verification of names on social register in Lagos. Oil bunkering, over 30 persons die in Rivers community. A sad story there. We'll move quickly now to the front page of the Vanguard newspaper. And the major story here, still talking about the truce reached by organized labor and the federal government. It says federal government labor reached truce, nationwide strike suspended. And the writer here says organized labor suspends nationwide strike, bill to start today for 1 month. Labor, federal government sign a memorandum of understanding on issues agreed on. Provisional 35,000 naira wage award for workers secured. And another picture here, talking about the president of the NLC, as well as Minister of Labor and Employment Simon Lalong, as well as the Chief of Staff to the President, you also Femi Gbadabiamila there, and Joe Ajero, and some other persons, stakeholders, when this meeting held yesterday. The picture there. Okay. And another story here, 35 persons burnt to death at Rivers illegal oil refining site. A really sad story. And at the top corner, we see tribunal sacks Nasarawa governor in split decision. Palliatives, government making announcements with limited thinking. Presidential candidate of the Labour Party, P2B, is speaking. Diezani gets £70,000 bail in alleged £100,000 bribery trial. That's another story on the top corner of the Vanguard newspaper. All right, manufacturers query federal government 6 months VAT waiver on diesel. You find all of this story on the front page of the Vanguard newspaper. We move now to the front page of the Daily Independent. Labor shelves strike for 30 days after compromise with federal government. Labor shelves strike for 30 days after compromise with federal government. Right, another story here says police investigate Ebonyi armed attack on buses, motorcycles. London court grants Diezani Alison Madueke £70,000 bail. EFCC begins extradition proceedings against former minister. And another story here, 100 members died over 4 months unpaid salaries. SANU is speaking, calls for implementation of over 25% salary increment. Drop in oil, non-oil earnings worsens FX volatility. A drop in oil, non-oil earnings worsens Forex volatility. The CBN is speaking. All right, you can find more details on the front page of the Daily Independent. We move now to the First News newspaper. Labour suspends nationwide indefinite strike for 30 days to allow federal government to implement promises. All right. Chicago Varsity confirms Tinubu graduated from school in 1979. Authenticates certificate. Another story here. Diezani arraigned in UK court as EFCC begins extradition process, obtains arrest warrant. Court grants her £70,000 bail in bribery case, says she's a flight risk. All right, Tribunal sacks Nasarawa governor, affirms Fubara Fintiri's election in Rivers and Adamawa. Army destroys IPOP camp, shrine, recovers corpses, or as Air Force bombs terrorist camps in Borno. All right, all the details on the front page of the First News newspaper. And to the Daily Trust now, still talking about Labour suspending its planned strike for 30 days. That's the lead story here. And on the top corner, gunshots as IPOP unleashes terror in Simon Ekpa's hometown. Tinubu Buhari out this morning, Emeritus Professor Umar Shehu. Non-interest banking, Taj Bank leads in Tier 1 capital, posts 6 billion naira profit. Atiku mom as Chicago Varsity releases Tinubu's records, authenticates certificates. We might be getting a reaction from him perhaps later today or as we get along. Right to this Nigerian newspaper now. Labour sheets sword, suspends strike for 30 days. Federal government to provide tax incentive for private sector, suspends VAT on diesel to provide 25,000 naira to 50 million vulnerable households, urges states to implement 35,000 naira provisional wage increase through National Economic Council. All right, Nigeria's rising food prices unabating. A Nigeria Bureau of Statistics report is saying that. Then another story here, we lost over 100 members over non-payment of 4-month salary. SANU is speaking. Tribunal sacks Nasarawa Governor Sule, orders installment of PDP's Mbagadu as governor. Right, troops clear for IPOP ESN camps, recover fresh old corpses in Imo. All the details on the front page of this Nigerian newspaper. To the Guardian newspaper now, Labour accepts federal government's proposal, suspends strike for 30 days. Labour accepts federal government's proposal, suspends strike for 30 days, and you see the pictures of the president of the NLC, Joe Ajero, and then the SGF there, Femi Gbajabiamila, also here. We see the president's picture. We see the Minister for Labour, Simon Lalong, and then we see the president of the TUC also here. Right, you see these pictures also depicting that government have spoken, representatives of government have spoken with organized labor. Food fare prices spike, put more Nigerians under pressure. Then we see the story H&D, much ado about conversion, 650,000 naira top-up program. Tribunal Saksile declares Mbugadu winner of Nasarawa poll. Cooking gas scarcity looms as price hits 1,000 naira per kg. EFCC obtains arrest warrant on Diezani, begins extradition plan. And we see at the platform, Lumumba Oyedele, others underscore how to develop Nigeria. Non-interest banking, Taj Bank leads in Tier 1 capital there. And these are the major stories you find on the front page of the Guardian news paper. And just to correct something, Chief of Staff to the President, Femi Gbajabiamila, I meant to say earlier, is the picture of the person you find also on the front page with the pictures there. All right, Kemi, over to you.
On the Punch, a splash of stories, some already taken by Veronica, but of course the biggest story of the day is still about the suspension of labor strike for 30 days, and the riders' labor demands wage award for state, local government, private sector workers with 1.5 million federal workers to benefit from government's provisional wage award. And the pictures there are, of course, excerpts of Monday's crucial meeting between the federal government and the organized labor in Abuja. Some more stories there up on the Punch. Marketers disagree with Tinubu tax advisor on refinery sale, And down there, Punch is reporting on what it calls bribe-taking policemen returning to Lagos Road, extort 25,000 naira from driver.